The icy winds of Froshim howled through the desolate landscape, a frozen world that had become the battleground for a war no one had wanted. Commander Lucas Wayne stood on the ridge, his breath forming clouds in the frigid air as he surveyed the vast, snow-covered plains below. His fingers, numb inside thick gloves, tightened on the binoculars as he focused on the incoming fleet. Metallic behemoths, sleek and formidable, cut through the atmosphere like knives. The Xanthri were coming. "They're early," Wayne said, lowering the binoculars. He glanced at Sergeant Marcus Wolfe, his second-in-command, who stood beside him, his face grim beneath his helmet. Wolfe nodded, his eyes scanning the horizon. "You think they'll stick to the agreement this time?" Wayne didn't answer immediately. He had never fully trusted the Xanthri, despite the fragile alliance formed to fend off the greater galactic threat. Humans were a resilient species, adaptable and quick to learn. The Xanthri were proud and advanced, but arrogant. The peace between their people had always felt temporary, like a ceasefire between two predators waiting for the other to falter. "They'll try something," Wayne finally replied, "but we'll be ready." The cold wind picked up, biting through their thick uniforms. Froshim was unforgiving, but it had become home. The humans had dug in deep over the years, establishing outposts and defenses across the frozen tundra, always prepared for an enemy that could strike from anywhere. Wayne had led many battles here, but today felt different. There was a tension in the air, a sense that something was about to snap. Suddenly, the radio crackled to life in Wayne's ear. The voice of Lieutenant David Cole, stationed at the northern perimeter, broke through the static. "Commander, we've got movement. Xanthri vessels inbound, but they're not slowing down." Wayne's chest tightened. "Are you sure?" "Positive. They're headed straight for us. Weapons hot." Wayne's blood ran cold. He didn't need to hear more. The Xanthri were supposed to arrive for joint maneuvers, not with their weapons drawn. It was an attack. "Sound the alarms," Wayne ordered. He turned to Wolfe, his expression hardening. "Get everyone to battle stations. We're under siege." Wolfe didn't hesitate. "Yes, sir." He sprinted toward the command center, his boots crunching in the snow. Wayne stayed on the ridge a moment longer, watching the Xanthri ships streaking across the sky like a storm of fire. Betrayal had always been a possibility, but the speed and ruthlessness of the attack caught him off guard. He cursed under his breath and headed back to the bunker, his mind already racing through the limited options. Inside the command center, red lights flashed, casting long shadows across the walls. The room buzzed with frantic activity as soldiers scrambled to their stations. The air was thick with tension, every man understanding the gravity of the situation. Wayne strode in, his presence immediately commanding attention. "Status report," he barked. Wolfe appeared at his side, sweat beading on his brow despite the freezing temperatures. "We've lost contact with the northern outpost. The Xanthri are hitting us from multiple angles, sir. They've jammed our comms with Earth. We're cut off." The words hit Wayne like a punch to the gut. "How long before they reach us?" "Minutes, maybe less. We've got to move." Wayne gritted his teeth. They had been betrayed, outnumbered, and now cornered on a planet as hostile as their enemy. But surrender wasn't an option. He stepped up onto the platform in the center of the room, his voice rising over the alarms and chaos. "Listen up." The room fell silent as every soldier turned to him, eyes filled with a mix of fear and determination. "The Xanthri think they can catch us off guard. They think they can bury us under the snow. But they don't know who they're dealing with." He paused, scanning the room, meeting the gaze of each man. "We're not going down without a fight. We've survived this frozen hell for years, and now it's our turn to make it theirs. We're going to hit them where it hurts, use this terrain against them. This ice, this cold, it's our weapon now." The men stood taller, their fear giving way to grim resolve. Wolfe nodded approvingly beside him, the fire of battle already lighting in his eyes. Wayne's voice dropped to a cold, determined tone. "Prepare the traps. Fortify the perimeter. No one dies without taking at least 3 of them with us." The men moved with renewed purpose, snapping into action. Wayne stepped down, exchanging a brief look with Wolf. No words were needed. They both understood the odds they faced, and neither was afraid of them. As the first sounds of distant explosions echoed through the command center, Wayne knew this was just the beginning. The Xanthri had come to bury them. But by the time this was over, Froshim's icy plains would be littered with the bodies of the aliens who dared betray humanity. The snow fell in thick, heavy flakes, blurring the line between the sky and the frozen ground. Froshim's white expanse was as deceptive as it was deadly, a perfect cover for the humans' resistance. Commander Wayne crouched behind a jagged ice formation, his breath fogging the visor of his helmet. In the distance, the faint hum of the Xanthri war machines echoed through the stillness. The alien soldiers marched with mechanical precision, their black armor contrasting starkly with the snow, their arrogance palpable even through the blizzard. "They don't know what's waiting for them," Wayne said, his eyes narrowing as he watched the enemy through his scope. Beside him, Sergeant Wolf adjusted his rifle, his voice low. "They think we're just going to sit here and die. Let's prove them wrong." Wayne gave a grim nod. "The moment we trigger the traps, we hit hard and fast. No hesitation." The Xanthri advanced in a staggered formation, unaware of the deadly surprise lying beneath the snow. Wayne had placed explosive charges across the ice fields, hidden just deep enough to remain undetectable by the Xanthri's sophisticated scanners. Their overconfidence blinded them to the threat below, and Wayne planned to capitalize on that arrogance. "They're in position," came the calm voice of Lieutenant Cole over Wayne's earpiece. "Ready on your command." Wayne tensed, his gloved finger hovering over the detonator. "Now!" The explosion shattered the frozen silence, ripping through the air with a deafening roar. The ground trembled as sections of the icy plain cracked open, swallowing the front ranks of the Xanthri forces. Alien screams filled the comms as war machines toppled into the gaping chasms, their advanced systems malfunctioning in the extreme cold. "Move!" Wayne barked, leaping to his feet. He sprinted through the snow, Wolf at his side, as the remaining Xanthri scrambled in confusion. The humans, camouflaged in white, appeared like ghosts from the storm, rifles blazing. Wayne fired at a Xanthri squad leader, his shots precise and deadly, dropping the alien with a single blast to the chest. The battlefield erupted into chaos. Wayne's squad moved with deadly efficiency, using the storm as cover. The Xanthri's vision systems, designed for warmer climates, struggled to adapt to the freezing conditions, their movements sluggish. Human soldiers darted between ice formations, picking off the aliens before disappearing back into the snow. "They're panicking," Wolf said, reloading his rifle. "Look at them. They weren't ready for this." Wayne didn't allow himself to celebrate yet. He knew this was just the first phase. "Keep the pressure on. We need to drive them further into the canyon." The Xanthri, disoriented by the sudden assault and the unforgiving cold, began to retreat. Wayne signaled his men to press forward, forcing the enemy into the narrow passage ahead. The canyon's towering ice walls loomed on either side, and Wayne could feel the final part of their trap falling into place. Lieutenant Cole's voice crackled through the radio again. "Commander, the charges along the canyon walls are set. Once they're in position, we'll bring it down on top of them." Wayne could see the Xanthri commander now, a towering figure in black armor, shouting orders to rally his troops. The alien leader's frustration was evident, but Wayne wasn't about to give him the time to regroup. "Wolf, take a team and flank them from the left. Cole, you're with me. We're going to box them in." Wolf nodded, signaling his men to follow. They vanished into the storm, their figures blending into the snow. Wayne led the charge toward the canyon entrance, firing as he ran. The Xanthri, now fully aware of their dire situation, fought back with desperate fury, their energy weapons lighting up the storm. Wayne ducked behind cover as a plasma bolt sizzled past his head, melting the ice where he had stood seconds before. He glanced at Cole, who was already setting up the detonators for the canyon's final trap. They're almost in position, Cole said, his voice tense but steady. We've got one shot at this. Wayne peered over the ice mound, watching the Xanthari commander desperately order his remaining troops into the canyon's mouth. The aliens moved like cornered animals, their once perfect formations now fractured and chaotic. This was their moment. Wait for it, Wayne said, his eyes locked on the enemy's movements. Wait! The Xanthari forces crowded into the canyon, their war machines lumbering forward, unable to maneuver in the narrow space. It was exactly where Wayne wanted them. His hand tightened on the detonator. Now! The explosion echoed through the canyon like the crack of doom. The charges hidden in the canyon walls detonated in unison, and with a thunderous rumble, the ice began to collapse. Massive sheets of snow and ice cascaded down, crushing the alien war machines beneath their weight. The Xanthari soldiers, trapped and helpless, were buried alive, their screams swallowed by the avalanche. Wayne watched the devastation unfold, his breath coming in harsh bursts. The snow settled, leaving only silence. The Xanthari were gone, entombed beneath the ice. He lowered his rifle and glanced at Cole, who stood beside him, his face a mix of exhaustion and triumph. It's over, Cole said, wiping the frost from his visor. Wayne shook his head, his gaze fixed on the snowy graveyard before them. Not yet, he replied grimly. They'll send more, but when they do, they'll know this frozen wasteland belongs to us. Wolf reappeared from the storm, a smirk tugging at the corner of his mouth. Damn right, sir. Let them come. The frozen battlefield was a graveyard now, a silent expanse littered with the twisted wreckage of alien war machines and the motionless bodies of the Xanthari. Snow, once pure white, was stained with black and green blood, a testament to the humans' defiance. Commander Wayne stood at the edge of the canyon, surveying the destruction. The avalanche had buried the majority of the alien forces, and those few who had survived the initial onslaught were now scattered, broken, and leaderless. Beside him, Sergeant Wolf was scanning the horizon with his rifle, ever vigilant. His breath came out in slow, steady clouds, a man who had seen enough battle to know that victory was never truly final. Think any of them made it out? Wolf asked, his voice rough, but there was an edge of satisfaction underneath. Wayne shook his head, his eyes cold and distant, as they swept over the alien corpses half buried in the snow. If they did, they won't last long in this cold. The planet will finish what we started. There was a moment of silence as the wind howled through the canyon, filling the air with a haunting, hollow sound. The humans stood victorious, but there was no celebration, only the grim satisfaction of having survived another day in a war that seemed endless. From the rear, Lieutenant Cole approached, his boots crunching in the snow. His face, pale from the cold and exhaustion, showed the wear of too many battles fought in unforgiving conditions. But his eyes gleamed with the fire of accomplishment. "Canyon's clear, sir," Cole reported, saluting Wayne. "What's left of their forces is pulling back toward the mountains. We won't see them again for a while." Wayne nodded. "Good work. We've bought ourselves time." Wolf spat into the snow, wiping his mouth with the back of his glove. "Time for what? For more of them to show up? The Xanthari aren't going to take this lying down." "They'll regroup," Wayne agreed, his tone hard. "But they've learned a lesson today. They underestimated us, and now their dead litter this wasteland. When they come back, they'll be cautious. That's how we win." He started down the ridge, his boots sinking deep into the snow with every step. Wolf and Cole followed, the three men moving like shadows across the icy plain, their faces grim beneath their helmets. The cold bit into them, but they had long grown accustomed to the harsh environment. They had survived, adapted, and now the planet was their greatest weapon. As they reached the remnants of the battlefield, Wayne knelt by the body of a fallen Xanthari commander. The alien's once black armor was coated in ice, its lifeless eyes staring blankly into the gray sky above. Wayne stared down at the alien corpse for a long moment, his jaw clenched. "This is how they'll remember us," Wayne said softly, more to himself than to his men. Not as a species they could crush underfoot, but as warriors. Survivors. Wolf, standing nearby, glanced at Wayne with a raised eyebrow. You're getting poetic on me, Commander. We should be focusing on how we're going to survive the next assault. We will, Wayne replied, rising to his feet. But first, let them remember today. Let them remember what happens when they betray humanity. Cole, standing behind them, shifted uneasily. There's still the matter of our communications being down. We're cut off from Earth, sir. Wayne's gaze shifted toward the horizon, where dark clouds swirled ominously, promising another storm. The isolation had been a calculated move by the Xanthari, severing the humans' contact with their reinforcements, hoping to crush them in one swift blow. But now the tables had turned, and the Xanthari were the ones retreating, licking their wounds. Fixing the comms is our next priority, Wayne said, his voice steady. The moment we're back in contact, we inform command of what's happened here. Reinforcements will come. Wolf frowned, and if they don't, Wayne looked at him, his expression unyielding. Then we keep fighting. Wolf chuckled darkly. I figured you'd say that. The three of them began to move again, trudging through the snow toward the makeshift human encampment nestled in the valley. Wayne's mind was already racing, planning their next steps. He knew this victory wouldn't be the last time they clashed with the Xanthari, but it had shifted the balance. The aliens, who once viewed humanity as a nuisance, now knew they were facing a species that would fight tooth and nail for survival. As they reached the edge of the encampment, a flicker of movement caught Wayne's eye. One of the soldiers, Private Jensen, was rushing toward them, his face flushed despite the cold. Commander, we've got something, Jensen panted, stopping to salute. What is it? Wayne asked, his tone sharp, his instincts immediately on edge. An incoming transmission, sir. It's weak, but we've managed to patch through. It's from Earth. Wayne's heart skipped a beat. After days of isolation, hearing from Earth was a beacon of hope. Where's it coming from? Jensen gestured toward the communications tent. Command's mobilizing reinforcements. They're on their way. For the first time in days, Wayne allowed himself a small smile. He glanced at Wolf, whose trademark smirk was already creeping onto his face. Looks like we're not alone after all. The three men exchanged a brief, determined look. They weren't finished here. Not by a long shot. As Wayne walked toward the comms tent, the wind howled around them, but he no longer heard the mournful wail of the storm. All he could hear now was the sound of humanity's fight back, growing louder with every passing second.